Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we dig in deep to analyze the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, 1 minute at a time. I'm Andy Nelson from thenextreel.com.
And I'm Pete Wright, also from The Next Reel.
We are looking at Jon Favreau's 2008 film, Iron Man. And back with us today, we have Niall McGowan from The Bat Minute. Welcome back.
Oh, happy to come back, guys. I will say just the beginning, though, because I wrote down on my Audacity project, like, Iron Man 2. And it just reminded me, like, obviously you guys will be covering it in much more depth when you get to that movie, but have you ever seen the video of the Adam Buxton Iron Man 2 Tom Waits spin-off single?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's incredible. It's like he's done what if Iron Man 2 had a spin-off single done by Tom Waits? And it's just like, it's him doing the voice and stuff. It's all clips from the movie, but it's just like a real prepare for excitement. Tony Stark is back. But it's really well written as well. But
that's awesome. I'm going to totally have to check that out.
Oh my God, I'm watching it right now. It's fantastic. This is amazing, going right in the show notes.
Today we are looking at minute 112 of Iron Man. On today's show, the minute starts with Obadiah gazing longingly into the head of his beheaded opponent, and it ends with Obadiah midway through his monologuing. This is top-notch villain stuff that we have going on here in this particular minute. It's we talked about at the very end of the minute yesterday. We saw Ironmonger holding Iron Man's head in his hand as he's kind of gazing at it as Hamlet does when he's gazing into the skull of his.
Alas, poor Yorick, where are thy jibes now?
I knew him. Yeah. It's very interesting, but then he crushes it and tosses it, and it's just like
a practical question, and I don't need to perseverate on this, but how is the helmet powered in this sort of decapitated state? Right, it still has lights on it, and when he crushes it, it's sparking and flying. Is there like a separate power unit in the helmet? Is that what we're led to believe?
That's a great question, and it does make me wonder. I mean, it must have something to keep it going in case Tony's operating it, and it does somehow the connection between it and the arc reactor in his chest is separated. He obviously still needs to be able to see and operate. So I would think it does, but still, it does strike me as odd, especially the fact that the eyes are light up. Like, I don't mind the sparks and stuff coming out of it, but the lit up eyes is a little strange to me.
It looks very cool, but, that's a reach. Never watch this movie 1 minute at a time. That's the rule.
It's weird, though. And this line and the way it's set up, it really reminded me of stuff that would happen in Infinity War. Or not even in Infinity War, in the promotional material for it. And I know, like, looking back now, because I'm doing a big rewatch of all the movies in the lead up to Endgame, which Endgame will be probably long out by the time this episode airs as well. But
yeah, right.
But like, you notice little things, like there's a bit in Age of Ultron where Tony Stark's talking about, like, things happening here, but up there, and he points to the roof and he's like, that's the end game. And you're like, I wonder if they knew back then that Kevin Feige had this well planned out. And there's remember in the trailer for Infinity War, there was a shot of Thanos. He's talking about, like, juggling the fate of the universe has its toll, but this does put a smile on my face. And there's this bit of him, like, it's shot kind of framed the same way almost of Obadiah Stane here, closing his fist with the gauntlet, like the way he's crushing the helmet. I was wondering, because they're both big bald guys, it just seems like, I wonder if there was some kind of, like, correlation, like, well, this is where it began and this is where it's going to end and all this kind of thing. Or if it's just me wildly reading way, way too much into this kind of thing.
Well, I would like to think that all the different team involved with this whole franchise that they've created, this whole world, I'd like to think that they are kind of communicating and having these sorts of conversations, and just in little nods like that, I'd like to think that they do put in, because it does end up feeling like a nice little payoff for something that it's not like they were intentionally setting it up way back in Iron Man 10, 11 years before Infinity War and Endgame came out, but it still is a nice callback to it, and it helps kind of tie everything and kind of create this.
So I don't think that
nice
line's
universe.
even in, like, I don't think it's in Infinity War. I think that was just for the trailer. So it wouldn't surprise me, though, if they were like, well, we need to sort of indicate that there's a correlation and the ending of an era and stuff. And if they just look back in Iron Man 1 and say, I wonder if we could set up a shot. Because that shot of Thanos closing his fist is a bit like that. Maybe we could do a thing like that or something. But
right.
At that point, though, they're like, we could put anything in this damn trailer and people will be excited. So.
Right.
Exactly. I have a logistical question about the Ironmonger suit, because we see him in it now. Obviously, this suit is much bigger than Jeff Bridges is. Do you think that it's kind of like, do you think his arms are extended? It's really hard to tell because he's wearing his little black jumpsuit. Are his arms extended into like the Ironmonger's, like into kind of the shoulder areas, or is he operating it kind of like the kind of like Ripley operates the lifter that she operates in Aliens, where his arms are probably at his sides, controlling little levers that are making everything move?
And I think that they're at the side, because I think if he had them out extended, it would just be way too uncomfortable for way too long a period of time.
Right. Yeah, you'd have to be holding them almost like, wings out the side the whole time.
I actually prefer to think of it more like Penny Parker in the spider suit, because if we were to really cut inside, it wouldn't be so much like the HUD on his face, but he'd be hunched over typing on a keyboard, like taking a drink of Dr. Pepper and then eating a Hot Pocket. And that's Obadiah Stane.
Maybe that's why he's enjoying the suit so much. It's like, I get to hang out, eat junk food.
I'm deeply enjoying the suit.
Everything he's ever wanted. It is funny, though, how this is his first time in this suit, and he doesn't make a single mistake. Like, he doesn't step wrong. He doesn't move his hands the wrong way. Like, it seems like he has a full understanding of this suit as soon as he's stepped into it. I mean, he's really good at crushing that mask.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, somehow he is able to navigate all of the buttons expertly. Time compression being what it is, I have to imagine that he's had some opportunity to train.
Yeah. I mean, that's a kind of running thing in Marvel movies. Like, they only really need to show you them getting the hang of things when they have to. I mean, like, even like Captain Marvel. This is like, she discovers how to fly, and all of a sudden she just knows how to fly. Like, it's just sort of, do you want to have a sequence of her learning how to do it? Or just, no, just don't have time for that. Just go straight into her knowing how to fly. And like, okay, so I guess Obadiah Stane also just knows exactly what he's doing with this suit the whole time.
Well, and in so many ways, like, it was Tony that was the avatar for learning how to do things for us. Like, we got so much of that up front in the very beginning as he's building the suit that, I don't know, at least for me, cognitively, it just fills in the blanks. Like, when I see Obadiah working the suit so expertly, I immediately think, well, clearly he's had the same kind of time to do this that Tony has. We just didn't get to see it. I know what that's like. I don't need to see it again.
I would love to see scenes of Jeff Bridges doing those flight tests and stuff, though.
Totally.
Just that gravelly bit.
Jeff Bridges, his experience on this movie was, it was kind of up and down, I think. I think he enjoyed the idea of it, but I think because they were dealing with so many changes in the script throughout the course of it, and his villain went from a not the final villain to the intentions were to have him continue in the later film, to all of a sudden being the major villain, not only being the major villain, but also getting set up to die, which we'll talk about next time. But also he talked about just kind of the sense of being in this film that it was because of the nature of all the changes and stuff. It didn't feel very, at least for him, from his perspective, it didn't feel quite as much like a kind of that family and stuff. He did a film a few years earlier called The Amateurs. It was a very indie film, and he was one of the characters, and they were a bunch of people in a small town who decide for whatever reason that they're just going to make a porn film. And it's something that they just decide to do. I saw it and I really can't remember much about it. It didn't stick with me, but I listened to like a documentary that they did after the fact about it, and he was talking about the difference in his time on that film and the kind of the family atmosphere that he had there versus here. He said on that film they started this thing where he would just kind of, on set he would just go Om, and everybody else would kind of go Om, and they would just kind of have this weird like set wide like moment of like Zen meditation, which everybody thought was really funny, and it just built this camaraderie on the amateurs. And he talked about how when he was making Iron Man, and it was this particular scene when he's on set and he's in this ironmonger suit up on this roof set, and he tried that. He said he tried it where he just kind of, he just goes Om in front of everybody, and everybody just kind of turned and stared at him, and he just like, never mind. He just like that didn't go over so well.
You try stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
I do know.
I love the idea of him though in this particular ironmonger suit having this little moment of Zen meditation.
But it's so funny. Like, I've never seen that movie, but I'm looking at this cast. In addition to Jeff Bridges, Tim Blake Nelson, Joe Pantoliano, Ted Danson, William Finchner, Patrick Fugit, John Hawkes. I'm sorry, man, but if there was ever a better cast to like jump in on the Om, I haven't seen it. These guys are wired for it, and there aren't as many of those guys out there as maybe Jeff thinks.
Yeah.
You guys haven't seen on the Facebook today. There's a comment section going crazy. I don't know if you guys are like friends with Neil Brown from the Mogwai Minute, but he posed the question like, who's better, Kurt Russell or Jeff Bridges? And sad to report, there's about 60 comments in this thing. It's a whole big thing going on. But Jeff's on the ropes. Like, people really love Kurt Russell in comparison to Jeff Bridges for some reason.
Wow.
Which is crazy to me, because I'm like, well, Kurt Russell's all right, but like, Jeff Bridges is, he's the dude. Like, he's awesome. Everyone loves him.
Are they talking specifically about their performances in the MCU films, or just in general?
No, just in general. Just as.
Oh, interesting.
And it was a weird thing too, because I do know people. And it was even weird because I was looking into did a quick skim of the Jeff Bridges IMDb and went into his like trivia section, and they're saying that he and Nick Nolte were considered to be the leads in Heat, and it's like Nick Nolte, Jeff Bridges, and Val Kilmer. It's like those guys are so they look so damn similar. There's a thing going on in Hollywood. Like, I know people who can't tell the difference between Jeff Bridges, Gary Busey, Nick Nolte. And then Kilmer's like the kind of younger, hotter version of them, I guess, as well. But that struck me. It's like, that would have been crazy. That would have been like friggin' like a warped version of like, they're fighting the same person, basically, because Bridges and then Kurt Russell comes in that as well, because Kurt Russell with a beard does kind of look like Jeff Bridges with a beard. It's like, it's something about those guys, that face, they're all kind of, maybe I'm going crazy over here.
Well, it's like they've become their own archetype, like their own archetype of this guy of this age with this look, with this amount of gray, and it's almost creating a sort of caste, in this kind of character in these movies.
Yeah,
I totally see it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get the disdain for Bridges, but
I don't think there's a disdain for Bridges. I think it's just that people prefer Kurt Russell, which is like,
I mean, but I mean, I don't know who is in that Facebook group, but I mean, I think some of that is, if it's kind of the Marvel fan type of people, I think Kurt Russell certainly has a lot more of the types of films that they're going to gravitate to, like, the Escape from New York and all the John Carpenter movies. Whereas I think Jeff Bridges has a fantastic career, and certainly The Dude, I think, figures prominently into that. But otherwise, it's like, Tron and K-Pax. It's not like he's got a big library of kind of the more of those kind of genre types of films.
Yeah. He does. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think even at the time, the fact that Jeff Bridges was in this kind of threw me a bit, because like, I revere Jeff Bridges, like, oh yeah, like, they call it like Cutter's Way and stuff like that. Like, keep thinking of the Last Picture Show. Like, these sort of like, he's a new Hollywood guy. So I know a lot of these guys do get into these, like friggin' Robert Redford shows up in Winter Soldier and stuff.
Yeah.
But I did always think that's very odd that like Jeff Bridges has been like, yeah. And I also I kind of always wonder with a lot of the guys in the early MCU movies, if they ever kicked themselves that they didn't hang on to maybe they would have got a bigger part later on or something. Like Mads Mikkelsen could be like, oh, now that like they got the rights to like the Fantastic Four back, like I could have been Doctor Doom if I just hung on for a little bit, but now I'm never going to be, you know. But,
right.
Like, oh, when Jeff Bridges was ever like, I could have been Thanos, but then Jeff Bridges probably wouldn't have wanted to be Thanos. He'd just be like, oh no, I kind of regret doing this movie as it is, you know.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, he was in kind of a frustrating place in the MCU, I think, where they were still figuring it out largely as they were putting this film together. I think that they did everything right as far as putting this film together. But I think as an actor in the process, I think it just made it more frustrating for him. And he even says, like, he's got a quote. He did a Facebook Q&A where he says, when I was hired on, it was scripted that Obadiah would live, that when they opened up his Ironmonger suit, he was not in it. Then they just decided to kill my ass off, telling me it's a comic book fantasy, so who knows, your character could come back. I guess we'll see. But I doubt that's going to happen.
Nah, I don't think there's enough... I don't think that the fans are out there like banging on Marvel's doors for the return of Obadiah Stane.
Right, exactly. So we do have, so as he kind of gets ready to take on Tony, who's now kind of slowly getting up, we cut back to Pepper and we see her pushing buttons still. She pushes the nitrogen coolant pump, the palladium gas. We don't see her push ammonium hydroxide and helium gas, but she must at some point because they are glowing like the other switches. And again, just further proof that Pepper really knows what she's doing as she kind of goes through all this, getting everything set for Tony. And I think it's nice to see, and I think they've structured this whole sequence in a really interesting way to have Tony literally like up on the roof, the glass roof directly over her. So it's kind of created an interesting dynamic that we have here.
Yeah.
And then we have Obadiah open fire and he starts shooting. And Tony, so what do you guys think about this the way that Tony's arm, his gauntlet flares open? Like he kind of I don't know, whatever he does, and the whole thing kind of opens up, exposing all of the inner circuitry and everything, weirdly not exposing his arm at all, but to deflect the bullets. How does that work for you guys?
Well, I just think that there are questions for me about it. Like, is this intentional, or are we supposed to believe that it's intentional, or was this some other function, like for flight, or some other weapon type of a thing that he's using to protect his face? I just don't get it. It doesn't look protective. It looks very much like innards and gears that he is using. He's using this sort of off label. It's a cool look. It's just kind of a surprise because everything else that we've seen him, sort of manifest with the suit has a specific purpose. Like the little spinny thing on his hip becomes the flares when he's in flight. Like things that are puzzling usually have an answer, and we never had any setup for this particular thing. It's like totally new. So I don't know.
Would you think it would have been better had it been conveyed that yes, it is a thing he opens up so he can fidget with the technical things inside there and stuff, and then they convey that by he actually does take like a bullet to the arm, like just one. So you get the idea, like, oh no, that's not there because it's not part of the weaponry. It is just it's like he's opened the flap basically.
Yes, exactly. And then the flap, like the next sequence when Obadiah shoots all the glass, like the flap is already retracted as he falls. And I don't know if that's just, short on time or whatever, but it's just one of those, like it is a puzzle to me that I never really noticed or thought about until Andy had to point it out.
That's what I'm here for.
That is the curse of the movies by minute analysis of like, well, I never thought about it before, but now I got to think about it.
Now it's all I've got.
Exactly.
I don't know, Andy, does it work for you?
It does because it looks cool.
It does look cool.
That's why I buy into it. I feel that he's intentionally doing it with parts that aren't meant to do this, but he's doing it just because he has nothing else to protect himself with.
Yep.
And it's not going to, it's going to mess up his circuitry, and he probably won't be able to use his flight stabilizer and his repulsor in his hand. because of it. But I do end up finding that it's so interesting, and it's quick thinking on Tony's part, that I end up buying into it. I think it sells, I think they sell it for me.
I would have loved to have seen him in that initial flight over Afghanistan. I would have loved to have seen him deploy this as a means to do some crazy acrobatic in midair. You know what I mean? Like a quick turn against the jets or something that would have at least set up that this is a thing that exists. And it's not for what he's using it for now, but it exists, and it's a part of the suit that we're proud of, and we're going to show off.
It'd be like in RoboCop when he has the little spike that comes out that's actually like a USB port, but he uses it to stab
exactly
in the throat and stuff. You could have done something like that. Yeah, you have it used earlier to be like, this is what the thing is.
The longest USB port they've ever invented.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I do agree. I mean, it would have been nice to have seen him using it in some other capacity at some point.
Yep.
It's tricky because I feel like then it would have that setup payoff, and it would have been kind of that nice payoff to see him use it that way. But at the same time, it becomes a complete surprise, and it becomes like, oh, cool! Like, I didn't know his suit could do that. It becomes a moment in the fact that it's just happening for the first time.
Well, and that thing though, that there's always the danger though of like, you can just make a suit do anything. Then if you're gonna like.
Yeah,
it feels a bit more like the thought through if they had like, no, this was the thing we introduced earlier, and then here he is using it practically later on. Whereas you could go into like Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver territory. It was like it does everything. Like it's just the only thing it doesn't do is the stuff you haven't seen it do yet. Like that's it kind of becomes like Tony Stark's suit can just.
But they'll get there.
Yeah,
but exactly. Now we're talking about nanobots, right? Like we're going to talk about that in like 15 years, but it's a thing that maybe if you're a big fan of this suit, that you're not crazy about those little surprises.
Yeah. I mean, there's little things like, and you could say that maybe there's a correlation between this scene and again in Infinity War when, Thanos rips off his helmet and then he instantly has another one just appear. Like, because that's the level of technology and stuff. You could say that maybe it's because he's learned from this, experience with Obadiah Stane. It's like, I need to have a backup helmet in case one gets torn off.
That's great. So speaking of setup and payoff, that's actually a really nice one.
Yeah.
22 years, 22 movies in the making.
Yeah.
So we have Obadiah who shoots out the rest of the glass, which is, again, could it be a Die Hard nod? Who knows as far as what Favreau is working on as far as referencing. But it is kind of fun to see him Obadiah just shooting out all the glass. He's decided, I'm going to make this as complicated as I can for Tony. I'm going to shoot it all out. And if I hit Tony, great. If I make it hard for him to get off of this roof, great. That's my plan right now. I'm just going to shoot everything.
It causes great anxiety for me because we cut then to Pepper being showered in shards of glass, and then she looks up. And I love the shot, but oh my God, I can't let go of the tiny splinters of glass falling into her eyeballs. Oh, yeah. I don't like it.
Like, shouldn't you wait a few seconds?
Exactly.
At least put like your palm up over your eyes or something, like while you're looking up.
Yes. Come on, Pepper.
It is a great shot, though. I love that bird's eye view shot we have looking straight down at her. It's like the broken glass perspective, staring down at her as she's looking at Tony dangling directly above her.
Now, had we only done a crash zoom into her eyeball, that would have finished it.
Weirdly, we see on the desk right next to Pepper, as she's looking straight up, there is, I don't know if it's a piece of a gear or whatever from Dallas Avionics Incorporated, which is an actual company. And I don't know how they fit in with arc reactor technology. I'm not 100% sure why they would be there. According to their website, they were founded in 1973 as a wholesale distributor of aircraft electronics, test equipment, installation supplies, and avionics. Maybe, I don't know. I really have no idea why it would be in the arc reactor room. I could buy that this would be like downstairs in the Ironmonger dungeon because of potentially something that they were using to kind of install some avionics in the suit. But it doesn't make sense in context of the arc reactor. I mean, it's an energy device.
You know what else they do? They make cooling systems. I wonder, and fans. cooling fans. I wonder if they installed a cooling fan. That's the level of their. I'm trying to reach for you, man.
That would make more sense. I would buy that then.
They also have antennas, couplers, and diplexers. I'll bet that has something to do with it.
I feel like a lot of that fits in with the avionics. Like I feel like it's all going to somehow tie into flight systems, but
I know they look all like antenna stuff.
Yeah.
So then we get, full on super villainy dialogue now, where the Obadiah coming out with, how ironic, Tony, and no one in real life ever says how ironic anymore. It's too much of a cliche for the world. You could only say it ironically, basically, to get that
across. My question for that was why does Obadiah seem so out of breath right here? He seems like he's been running around the block.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah.
Is it that hard to operate this suit? Where he is plumb tuckered out. This guy.
Maybe he does have when he's shooting, he does have to keep really grip the trigger or something, and there's a lot of strain on his arm or something. He's an old man as well. Let's face it.
It's like a bicycle in there. He actually has to pedal to make it work.
It's like a Flintstone suit where he's actually pedaling to keep the energy up.
Exactly, because his arc reactor isn't as good as Tony's, so he has to add a little pedal power.
Or the connection's not as good because it's the better arc reactor. We have to remember he's got the better one in his
That's
suit.
right, he does. He just didn't figure out how it fits, so he uses pedal power. Pedal power, Tony. I'm looking forward to seeing a cross-section of this suit that incorporates all of the changes that I feel like I've made to it. It's a pedal-powered Penny Parker suit with a microwave for Hot Pockets and more cup holders and Jeff Bridges.
And Jeff Bridges.
I was dreaming wish he was mid-eating Hot Pocket as he's ironic, Tony.
Exactly.
Considering the food situations we've had between Obadiah and Tony, that would have been so perfect because earlier Tony's chowing down on hamburgers and he won't share with Obadiah, and then Obadiah keeps bringing him pizza and takes it away from him. It would be perfect if he's eating a Hot Pocket here and he says, "Oh, you want one of these? Well, too bad, they're all mine."
Suck it, Tony.
That scene of Tony with those cheeseburgers though, that every time that gets me. Oh, I could go for a cheeseburger actually right now.
That's right.
I feel like I need to approach this movie every time with a bag of cheeseburgers beside me, but I won't be able to touch it until 40 minutes into the thing.
Right. Just to be ready. Got to be prepared. But yeah, we hit the end of this minute, kind of mid-monologue. I don't think I have anything else for this minute. I feel like we can talk about the rest of it tomorrow. What about you guys?
No, that's me.
I'm good here.
All right. Well, Niall, again, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. More than happy to pop in.
Would you like to remind everybody where they can find you and learn more about your show?
Yeah, I'm the co-host of Bat Minutes, where we're doing what you guys are doing with the Tim Burton Batman movies, and we'll be doing shortly with the Joel Schumacher movies. And you can if you just Google Bat Minute, it will be the thing you'll find. And if you're on any kind of social network or anything like that, I think we're on all of them. So just type in Bat Minute. You should find us. I hope. Anyway.
Just search. It's out there.
Yeah. It's just all he needs is the show name. I say that though, and then people could be emailing me going, "What the hell you say that for?"
Well, everybody, that is it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the show for free at MarvelMovieMinute.com. Join us over in our Discord chat room and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Next Reel. And if you like what we do and you want to support us and get some cool stuff, become a patron over at thenextreel.com/Patreon. Until next time, true believers.